Do you want to work with Milwaukee Police Chief Ed Flynn?
Of course, and been very pleased to say we've had numerous meetings with him and the mayor and members of the Fire and Police Commission more. We really believe that while we keep hearing the term people in the community, we actually believe the police department is a member of the community, right? So we should all be working together to improve public safety here in Milwaukee.
Well, Chief Flynn was here at CBS 58 last week feeling misrepresented by your organization, that somehow he was in secret changing the language of how officers will share information with federal agents.
Well, let me say this. I know Chief Flynn's a very committed individual, and once again, I appreciate the opportunity we've had to work together. But Lulac of Wisconsin, as well as Voces de la Frontera, and a lot of other, both liberal and conservative organizations jumped on board with the issues we had too. Everything from the content of the changes that were made, and number two, what has really disturbed a lot of folks is the process that was followed to implement those changes.
Now, he says he met in meetings with the city attorney, with different groups. Everybody knew that Milwaukee police would not enforce immigration law, but would share information when they came across a violent felon, somebody who had been previously deported. They would share that information with immigration.
Yeah. So I can't really talk to all the meetings he was involved in, obviously, but I can share this, that when we looked at the changes that were made, that they went beyond the statute, which is 1373, that the U.S. Department of Justice is saying that the city of Milwaukee needs to comply with to get the grants. Everybody wants the police department to be fully resourced, et cetera. But when we looked at some of the changes they made, they actually had nothing to do with that statute. So that was one concern. And the second concern we had was, for over 20 years, there's been a pattern and practice of how the MPD, the city attorney's office, work with the Fire and Police Commission. And whenever there is a material change, you know, the way the standard operating procedure is written, and it's not just a grammatical change or something of that nature, they have to see the entire thing in writing, debate it, and get public comment. For some reason, like I said, the first time in over 20 years, that whole process was bypassed when it came to this SOP change.
But you're not holding Chief Flynn responsible for that, are you?
Like I said, I haven't been in all the meetings that he was in, but I do think it does deserve further examination, and I do understand the Fire and Police Commission are trying to change that rule to make sure it never happens again.
But did it need to become so nasty? I mean, allegations against the chief that he was not being above board, and he says it's just the word shall.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that there were numerous changes made. Changes that removed language from other parts of that SOP that prohibited bad actors from just going up to people who have predominant Hispanic features and asking them what their immigration status was.
Okay, so SOP is standard operating procedure, and you're telling me there are officers in Milwaukee who are blatantly going up to citizens and asking their immigration status?
Let me say this. Nobody has greater respect for brothers and sisters in blue that uphold their law, you know, their sworn oaths to provide equal protection under the law. But I think it's safe to assume that in a force that large, that statistically speaking, there would be some issues there.
Okay, so you do not believe this is a semantics issue, that how the rewording was implemented would have given too much power to officers?
Correct. This isn't a technical change. I know it's been referred to that. No, there is substantive change here that would affect the public safety, not just of immigrants in the community, but of everyone in Milwaukee. If somebody feels like it's not in their best interest or it may bring them harm to report a crime that they see, that's an issue. If somebody sees a medical emergency taking place in front of them and they're going to hesitate to call whether they should call or not, that's a concern. These are all things that are in the public interest. We all agree bad people doing bad things do not need to be here. So let's get that clear.
And when it comes to clarifying this policy, it was asked of the Milwaukee Police Department by both the President Obama as well as the President Trump administrations because of the grant money that's at stake here. Do you worry that money plays more of a role in anything else than politics or prejudice?
I think in this situation, maybe all three are playing together. We know what's been coming out of the Trump administration, and I think you even reported it here on CBS 58, the day after the election, the amount of fighting and bullying that was taking place in our own public and private schools with people attacking individuals of, once again, strong, prominent Hispanic features. So we know it is an issue there. That being said, I also want to clarify one other point. we showed the previous SOP, the SOP that was in place prior to any of these changes, not only to our inside counsel, not even to, and to external consultants, but I actually went to a rather conservative law firm and asked them to review the policy. Everybody, to a person, not just some, all of the attorneys said the existing SOP was already in compliance and there was no need to change to begin with.
So what is the motivation you believe in changing the language then?
I can't speak to who was behind the issue, but I can tell you that there still is great concern over how this was allowed to happen and why these specific changes, once again, it goes well beyond just that one word shall. If you look throughout all the changes made in the SAP or the SOP, it is of still lingering concern in the community.
The lingering concern that this will be overreaching for officers and how they conduct themselves.
Well, I think everyone's comfortable with the language that's now in place, and I want to credit Chief Flynn for submitting that amendment in the FPC for passing it. But what was the driving force behind him? When we hear that it was to ensure compliance with the grant opportunity, then why did the changes go above and beyond what was required for that grant opportunity?
Does Lulac have confidence? Do they want Chief Flynn to continue his term?
We are interested in working with all parties that want to improve public safety here in the city of Milwaukee. And actually tomorrow, with our other partners at the Committee Coalition for Quality Policing, we're going to be outlining 5 steps we believe the city needs to take to ensure public safety is something that we all have and are comfortable with throughout our great city.
Steps you don't see anybody taking right now?
With all, I hate to use, we hear the word chaos used too much today in the news, but I think there is some chaos surrounding what is happening here. And so we hope to provide the direction forward so we can all move in a collaborative nature together to the betterment of our city.
Okay, collaborative nature, I think that's the key word here.
Yes, it is.
All right.